Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Sunday celebration. And it is April 26th. And if this message moves you, or if you are moved by any of the Unity teachings, I invite you to send a donation to Unity of Reading, 4443 10th Avenue in Temple. And thank you for joining me today. Today's daily word is release. I release all that does not contribute to my highest good. John's Gospel tells of Jesus restoring life to his friend Lazarus, who had been dead for 4 days. As Jesus cries, "Lazarus, come out!" his friend emerges from the tomb, burial cloths still covering his face and wrapped around his hands and feet. Jesus said to those who have gathered, "Unbind him and let him go." Even after a spiritual resurrection, I may sometimes remain bound, like Lazarus, by thoughts, ideas, feelings, or habits that keep me from the full experience of freedom. Through my divine power of elimination, I release negative feelings, dissolve negative errors, and free myself from habits and actions that do not serve my highest good. I am no longer bound. I am free. The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloths, his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said, "Unbind him and let him go." And that was from John 11:44. So today I would like to begin a series to discuss something that may be hard to connect with during this time, and that is happiness and joy. I do understand that there's maybe some in a situation of financial, relationship, job, or health issues, which may have been concerned, but also know that even in times like this, feelings of joy and happiness are available to anyone who wants them, no matter what the situation. Some traditional religions somewhat frown on happiness and joy, making poverty and struggle a virtue in life. Religion has long been represented as pious, somber, and a pious and somber experience of life. Jesus was even portrayed as somber and serious. Jesus was normally set forth as a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, so that all the artist pictures showed Jesus with a sad face and somber look. At Unity, we had a picture of a laughing Jesus, and I loved it. I believe this is to be a mistaken identity. If we understand anything about life and human relationships and how personality reacts between people, we can look at Jesus and know he could not have been sad and somber and have that kind of attractiveness, that he had large throngs of people to his inner circle of people who were willing to go all the way with him. He had to be a happy person and have a happy personality. It's often said that laugh with and the world laughs with you, and you weep alone. Jesus was always teaching prosperity, living a fulfilling and abundant life, and said, "These things I have spoken unto you, that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy might be full." He also said, "Ask and you will receive, so that your joy may be complete." I also believe that one of the weaker spots of one of the otherwise greatest documents in humankind, and that is the Declaration of Independence, the idea of the pursuit of happiness. It suggests that happiness is something that we have to actively pursue, thinking someday, somewhere, we'll find happiness. It seems we are all on the pursuit of happiness. Eric Butterworth calls this living life on the deferment plan, that happiness comes as a result of something that happens. When I get this, or when I achieve this, then I will be happy. We defer our happiness onto something else. Unity teaches the idea that joy and happiness is fundamental to all people, that it is a natural expression of the human experience. Joy, then, is a very fundamental, innate experience, which unfortunately very few people discover. We may experience it occasionally. It may bubble up as a result of some outward stimuli, but very few people along in life come to realize that joy is not a reactionary emotion. It's not something that happens because of something out there that happens, but it's a causative energy, that it comes as a result of a releasement of an inner communion, and that the only way that one can ever experience any kind of joy or happiness is when something happens within him, when he awakens to the flow of the inner spirit. Paul described joy in the Bible as one of the fruits of the Spirit. So what really is joy and happiness? I read some great things while preparing this message, and I love this definition, or I love this statement. Your definition of joy and happiness will influence every significant decision you make in life. If happiness is outside of you, you will make happiness a search, a catch, a reward you must earn. However, if you know that happiness is inside you, then happiness becomes a compass, a teacher, an enabler that helps you to live your best life. I love that statement, and I want to read it again because it's so, so important to get this. Your definition of joy and happiness will influence every significant decision in your life. If happiness is outside, you will make happiness a search, a catch, or a reward you must earn. However, if you know that happiness is inside, then you know that happiness becomes a compass, a teacher, an enabler, and that it helps you live your best life. Webster's dictionary defines joy as a condition or feeling of high pleasure or delight, happiness or gladness. Other definitions which I came across, joy is an emotion so deep and so lasting. Joy is the source or cause of keen pleasure or delight. Joy is an expression or display of glad feelings and festivity. Joy is a state of extreme happiness. Naturally, the question then springs up in our mind, is joy different from happiness? Two words we often use interchangeably. I guess the answer would be yes and no. Joy is something that lasts. Happiness is something temporary. Joy springs from within and is an internal experience. Joy brings with it the feeling of contentment and confidence that can make and take us through any storm in life. Joy is a conscious commitment to be happy, to make a sense of gratitude and commitment and contentment despite life's challenges. Somebody once said that joy is happiness with a much longer shelf life, but joy is even more than that. Eric Butterworth, a Unity writer and author, once wrote, "It is important to understand joy as a realization of an innateness within each and every one of us. This is one of the most important things that I think we need to discover in truth. I'm not saying that the most important thing in the world is to go around laughing and telling jokes, but it is important that we understand that life, more abundant, implies an attunement with this flow of joy, so that regardless of what circumstances in life, regardless of what happens, we can experience a continuity of this bubbling effervescence of spirit which keeps us alive from within. And every person can do this. This is the greatness. This is the good news of truth, that you are a spiritual being and you have in you an innate flow of jubilance which comes right out of your inner self, your own self, your inner being, and you can tune it in and turn it on anytime you want. That's a marvelous thing to realize. I remember there was a great Charlie Brown cartoon, and it was illustrated in 4 pictures. Charlie Brown was with Lucy. In the first one, he was slumped over, head down, and the cartoon said, "This is my depressed stance." The second caption shows him standing up a little more and saying, "If you are depressed, it makes a lot of difference how you stand." The third one, he was standing straight with his head up and stated, "Whatever you do, don't stand up straight and hold your head up high, because then you'll start feeling better." Finally, if you want to get any joy out of depression, you got to stand like this. And Charlie went back to slumping. Well, that's Charlie Brown, the great philosopher and psychologist. But you are so right, Charlie Brown. Research has shown the way we hold our bodies has a relationship to our emotions. Try it right now. Sit or stand up straight. Hold your chin up, hold your head up, and put a smile on your face. Do you feel the shift in your emotions? Now try to think of a negative thought without changing your position. You can't do that. Research has also shown that your body does not know the difference between a fake smile and a real smile or laugh. Once you put a smile on your face, your body believes you are happy and begins releasing endorphins, endorphins are natural painkillers and what people call our feel-good hormone. The more hormone released, the happier we become. The happier we become, the more endorphins are released. It's an upward spiral of happiness. If there's no reason for you to feel better other than the way you present yourself to yourself, then you have shown that happiness and joy were there all along. It was you who were denying it and covering it up. Shakespeare says, "Assume the virtue if you have it not." William James talks about acting as if. Jesus said, "When you pray, believe that you have it." and it is yours. I remember hearing a medical doctor speak years ago who knew the connection between happiness and health and the mind-body connection. His name was Dr. Dean Anderson. He spoke of a patient who he had for years who came in feeling very depressed, low energy, and just not knowing what was wrong. He did tests to determine a diagnosis, but when he found no physical reasons for the way he was feeling, he asked her about what was going on in life. She explained that she was an actress, and the play that she was currently performing in was such a great hit that it carried over for weeks. She would have play practice each day and perform at night. Dr. Anderson said, "Well, perhaps that's it. Maybe you're just overworked." She denied this, as this happens all the time, and acting was her passion, and it never exhausted her like this. He asked her about the particular play she was in, and she began explaining that she played the part of an alcoholic mother who would lie on the couch constantly, had bad relationships with all those around her, who was miserable, and who basically hated life. As she was speaking, both Dr. Anderson and herself both realized her health issues came from the part that she was playing. She was becoming the part that she was playing. It's so important that we understand this process, that most of us tend to play parts or play roles and parts in life. We play parts and then we become that part. Perhaps we've gone beyond a certain age where we feel that we can act hilariously, or perhaps it's our job that we need to act serious, so we have to act our age. We're just playing roles. The interesting thing is that that's not too far removed from the lives of all of us on a day-to-day basis. We also are greatly manipulated because we allow it to be this way. Something happens to us and we say, "Gee, I was feeling good until that happened, and now I feel terrible." We have allowed ourselves to get into positions where things and circumstances, experiences of life, have control over us. We say, "That makes me so unhappy," or "That makes me so angry or so disturbed." Does it really? Does the act make you happy or angry or unhappy? Or is it your reaction to it and your thoughts about it? Nothing really has the power to make you upset. The thing is, we have allowed ourselves to get into a position where we become deficient in the will to control our own life, to control our thoughts and our consciousness, to look at the reasons why we are so unhappy. We get into playing the same role day in and day out. Nothing can make you happy, and nothing can make you unhappy. Yet anything can provide you with a great opportunity to be happy if you want to be happy. But you have to make that decision, you see. And I'll say that again. Anything can provide you with the opportunity to be happy if you want to be happy. But you have to make that decision. This is a very important thing, and it has so much to do with life. In other words, the joyous consciousness is a consciousness in which we keep ourselves in tune with the rhythmic flow of the universe that flows from within and always flows in a harmonious expression. There is no sadness in the kingdom. In other words, sadness is purely on the circumference of life. It results in a negative appraisal of things. What happens so often to most of us, and it becomes almost habitual, some experience crosses our path. It may just be an untoward circumstance of any kind. It might be that just somebody beat you to a good parking space, but that makes us feel horrible. We feel upset and say, "I felt good until that happened, now I'm miserable." We begin to act unhappy. What happens, it is a result of the experience we have gotten out of the flow. It's the usual human reaction, and we say, "I have a good right to be unhappy or angry or sad or miserable. After all, look what happened. I have a good reason to be unhappy." And so we hold our depressed, angry stance again. The point is, the moment that you break into a smile, the moment that you square back your shoulders, the moment you begin to act the part of the kind and radiant, happy person that essentially and always you are inside, things begin to change. You begin to radiate a whole different consciousness. You begin to draw from circumstances a whole different meaning and a different vibrational pattern. Suddenly, the whole thing looks different, almost like putting a different reel in the movie theater. The scene has changed. Everything has changed. Because you have changed. Why? because everyone has within him this flame of jubilance that is always, always there. We need to turn it up. We need to take the stance of happiness, the stance of joy, and not allow anyone or anything to take this away from us. The happy person, the radiant consciousness, the jubilant soul, is a person who is in a different wavelength. The vibrations go forth from him and come back from situations and circumstances. Tremendously harmonious and orderly circumstances take place in his life. You may call him lucky. Some people, on the other hand, call him Pollyanna. And at this time, I'd like to set the record straight on Pollyanna, because under the dictionary in Pollyanna, it says an unfounded state of optimism and happiness. And actually, Pollyanna was a creation of Eleanor Hodgman Porter. It was a story that is often referred to as the Glad Girl. It was about a young girl who was irrepressibly joyous and happy and optimistic. Everything was fine with her. She had some serious physical reverses that put her in the hospital for a long, long time. And even in the hospital, she remained happy and joyous and grateful and smiling. So people called her Pollyanna. At the time, I think it was thought of as a compliment. As years have gone by, we think of Pollyanna as one of the worst things that you can be called or call somebody else. Many truth students are called Pollyannas. The fact is, Pollyanna knew, she knew that nothing could make her unhappy or happy. But anything can provide her with the opportunity to be happy if you want to be happy. And she just wanted to be happy. This was the message of Eleanor Hodgman Porter. And what's wrong with that? It gave her a consciousness that enabled her to cope with any situation, to deal with things, to meet the kinds of challenges and reversals that happen within life. It gave her the optimistic point of view. It led her away from the tendency to fight against it, to let her be in the flow, to let it unfold, and to know that this too shall pass. Out of it shall come growth, no scars, no long-range difficulties, only the unfoldment of tremendous good. And what's wrong with that? Don't let anyone discourage you by calling you a Pollyanna. If someone says, "Oh, you're just a Pollyanna," to yourself beam and say, "Gee, that's a great compliment," because you know that nothing can make you happy or unhappy, and yet anything in life can give you the opportunity to be happy if you want to be happy. So the question that remains today is, do you want to be happy? Do you want to feel that joy within? Do you want to be joyous? Knowing full well that the consciousness of joy and happiness is the key to releasing the kingdom of heaven, possibilities within you, and unfolding the greatness of your life, which is your potential to do. If that's what you want, say yes, yes. Of course I'm a Pollyanna. I'm happy. I want to be happy. And I refuse to get involved in resisting the changing experiences of life. And I refuse to allow anything or anyone to make me unhappy. Thich Nhat Hanh was once quoted, "Sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy." Know that we can take the happy stance today. I encourage you to take the happy stance. Know that no matter what the circumstance, you can choose to tap into that flowing source of joy within you and connect to the happiness, which is your birthright, which is your innate human experience. And so it is. I'd like to take these thoughts into meditation at this time. So I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. I'd like to have you take a deep breath in. Feel the energy of the atmosphere around you. Maybe put a smile on your face before you close your eyes. Become aware of your breath. Breathe deeply and slowly. Breathe in relaxation and a sense of ease. Let go of any tension as you exhale. See any problems, issues, thoughts just float out. Let the warmth of your relaxation flow through your whole body. From your head, relaxing your shoulders, your arms, your hands, into your pelvis, your thighs, your knees, all the way down to your feet. Feel how it feels to be relaxed. Feel how it feels to be in control of how you feel. Now find your own way to that still, quiet center of your being. With your body relaxed, your emotions calm, your mind peaceful and spacious. Go into the silence, into that quiet place where you know all is well, where the kingdom lies, where you get in touch with truly who you are. Now I invite you to think of a time that you experienced great joy and well-being. Perhaps you were in a beautiful place. Perhaps you were with a good friend. Perhaps it was just a time of meditation that this feeling of joy and happiness overwhelmed you. Perhaps it was the birth of a child, a grandchild, a marriage. But it was a time that you felt such joy and happiness, you felt like you could explode. Go back to that time in your mind. Recall this experience with so much detail that you feel as though you're there. You can feel the joy. You can feel the happiness. Bring an image of that moment to your mind. What's happening? What was the environment like? Look around you. Were you alone or were you with others? Take in the sights. Take in the sounds. Someone's saying something to you. Can you remember? Can you tap into this feeling of joy and happiness you had at that time? Remember how the experience of well-being and joy felt in your body. Did your body feel light, energetic, expansive? What did joy feel like in your mind? Was your mind open, free, present, clear? Take a few moments to let your awareness feel the sensations in your body and the mood in your mind. Let them fully register as you breathe in this feeling of well-being. Relax into each exhalation. As you reach the peak of this experience, the peak of your joy and well-being, I invite you to press your thumb and your forefinger together to anchor this feeling into your body and into your mind. Each time you think of this situation and you reach the peak of your joy and the peak of your happiness, press your thumb and your finger together and anchor this situation into your body and mind. And know, just as you have these feelings now, even though you aren't experiencing the action at that time, you can bring these feelings back at any time. I invite you to practice calling up this image and feelings of well-being regularly each day for at least 1 week. Anchor these feelings into your fingers. And any time you feel the stress, feel unhappy, put your fingers together and know that you can tap into this source of well-being and happiness at any time. If you're feeling stuck, if you want to make a shift in life, use this exercise and this meditation to open yourself up to the joy and the happiness that is innate within you. I invite you to continue to take a few minutes and feel this joy, this happiness that is flooding your entire body. Know that this experience can be felt at any time, as you just have now. Know in your heart and your mind that it is not the outside circumstances that make us happy, but that inside well of joy that is there just to be released. As we make a conscious effort of connecting to this joy and this well-being and releasing it out into the atmosphere, out to others, we reflect that joy and well-being back to us. And we know that all is truly well, no matter what appearances show. And so it is. I invite you to either stay in this meditation and open your eyes whenever you're ready. And as you open your eyes, know that you will see the world differently. You'll see the world from the eyes of joy. And so it is. Have a happy and joyous day. Amen.